What's going on? Welcome back to the channel. So today we're going to talk to you about SoFi. I want to go over some of the data points, break it down on what really moved it, and go over everything else you need to know. But first, make sure to hit that thumbs up. And with that, let's get right to it. So SoFi did go down 1.49%, 29.02 the low, 29.93 the high, and 52.05 million shares being traded. So kind of low volume. When it came down to it, it was a fairly volatile day, and a lot of that volatility stemmed from data points. So mortgage applications came in at negative 1.4, mortgage market index came in at 313, but the big one for this morning and today, I guess, was ADP employment, and that came in at negative 32,000. That was rather horrific considering the forecast for that was 15,000. So the market once slightly negative, not that. And I think in general, there was going to be a dip. I even mentioned in my pre-market video on Financial Journey, another one of my YouTube channels, I said that we are going to have a dip because of this. But as per usual, the second half of the day, the market's going to have some epiphany that this is actually good for rate cuts, which it actually did cause it to go up a little bit, now to 89%, and then we were going to move on higher. That did happen with about 90% of the stocks. SoFi seems to have went through a little bit more of a weird transition today. So I wanted to kind of go over that and potentially why some institutions were selling SoFi. But today, the big thing for them was their fireside chat. So they did participate at the UBS Global Tech and AI Conference. I did post that as well on this channel. And I think Chris overall did a very good job. He summarized a lot of the recent kind of guidances that they raised from their last earnings. And I think he kind of hit it home that they are planning on expanding both with loans and also cryptocurrency. So cryptocurrency again rolled out. There's a lot of other things, but I think overall that's kind of the new information. So as far as the loans and just cryptocurrency, everything else was just more kind of just reiterating from their last earnings. Correct me if I'm wrong. Let me know if there was anything new and special that he did mention aside from, like I said, loans and crypto. But I think generally it's good. Unfortunately, I think he kind of broke the trend because normally every time there's one of these fireside chats, SoFi does close in the green, and yeah, they closed in the red. One of the very few on my watch list actually to close in the red. Robinhood closed 6.1% in the green, and then you did have Webull closing 2.89% in the green. So SoFi kind of lost some of its luck today, I guess, but nonetheless, looking at shorts, they also did take advantage and they returned 927,000 shares. 9.98% of the free float is being shorted, works out to be 118.19 million shares overall are being shorted. So for those of you that tuned in, I think it was 2 or 3 days ago, how the shares on loan was lower than the number of shares being shorted. That has since rectified itself, so I don't know if it was just more of a one-off type of glitch from Ortex, or there was maybe a brief period where there was some naked shorting going on, but that has since rectified itself, as you can kind of see. DTC sitting at 1.68 days, so still does signal that shorts are rather overextended. Looking at the options, we had 27 million in calls, 8.3 in puts. So this is extremely low volume, and I don't know if maybe there's just other opportunities out there that people were kind of not really doing much with SoFi through options today, but still 49% of all the options being done were bearish in nature. From a bull standpoint, you still see a good consensus for it to be above 30, and I believe a lot of that optimism is potentially SoFi getting added to the S&P 500. Last time I did bring this up, I think 2 videos ago, I had a lot of questions asking, do I actually think that they will be added? In my opinion, I don't think so. It's going to be one of those same types of Robinhood scenarios when I think there was always, for was it 3 or 4 consecutive quarters, Robinhood investors always thought that it was going to get added. You had this nice run up, they were let down, and it would go down and kind of sell off. I don't believe that SoFi will be this time around. Possibly March, but it might be kind of mid 2026 in my opinion. So that's just let me know your general thoughts on that. Aside from that, the bears are anticipating for it to be sub 28, so they're anticipating a little bit more of a kind of consolidation period. These are some of the transactions that did occur on the dark pool above $100,000. So 13.4, 11.7, 9.7, 9.6, 8.8, and so forth. So good transactions. Given how active shorts were, it is fair to assume that most of these, at least some of these, were linked to them. Anything hold number like 300,000, that's usually hedge fund related. What was rather odd for today, and again, I look at a lot of different stocks, I have a lot of different YouTube channels. Most institutions were actually out there today buying many stocks. So there was a certain level of FOMO. Like I said, in the second half of the day, like the market had an epiphany and realized, hey, you know what, that negative data is actually good. In SoFi's case, you had a lot of institutions selling. So these are all the transactions that did occur on the secondary market. 60.6, 21.7, those were both sales. 11.7, that one was a buy. 4.09, 2.9, and so forth. So you can kind of see that there was a lot more selling today. So SoFi was completely inverse to the broader market. And in my opinion, the only reason why some institutions possibly were selling is because Robinhood, Vlad did post some of the stats. So for those of you that kind of are the Robinhood investors, or you keep up to date with what they're doing, they did a event recently where they gave 2% if any Tesla kind of shares and whatever holders were going to move to Robinhood. And I believe that did result in about $1.4 billion moving over to Robinhood. That is huge. That's massive. And so I think in general, maybe that caused SoFi to go down, because even though technically a lot of people say that SoFi and Robinhood, they are not like in competition, like data speaks otherwise. And every single time Robinhood during their earnings has said something negative about them not pursuing and going into banking, for instance, in the past, SoFi's gone up randomly. So there is clearly investors that feel that they are kind of in competition with one another. And in my opinion, that seems to be the only real thing why SoFi would have lagged throughout the whole trading day, is just possibly people were rotating into Robinhood. That's just my opinion, of course. But at the same time, there was a new rating that did come out. No price target was given though, but William Blair, Andrew, who has a 60% success rating, gave just a general buy. As a consensus over the last 3 months though, 27.27 is that price target, representing a 6.19% downside. So yeah, it's kind of weird. You get a buy rating, and you generally on a daily basis, you get a lot of institutional kind of buyers, but today was just maybe a one-off. I'm not really sure. So let me know your general thoughts on that in the comments below. With it closing at 29.07, it is trading between this R1 and the pivot. So 29.94 is going to be the next strong target / resistance. So it kind of did also bounce off of that. And sometimes that does happen. Every time you bounce off of a key resistance level, you consolidate. And so possibly that could be also one attributing factor why SoFi did lag, and it's just because this is a very strong resistance point. Flip side, 28.37 is going to be the next strong support. I don't personally see that being touched. Like, we do have some big data coming out over the next couple of trading days. So for instance, on Thursday, we have challenger job cuts, initial jobless claims. Friday, we have PCE, and then Michigan consumer sentiment. So we do have a lot of big data, but I don't believe, even worst case scenario, that could result in SoFi going down to that 28.37. So let me know your general thoughts on that in the comments below. But normally what does happen is any stock that is trying to move higher and bounces off of a key resistance usually consolidates a little bit and then it tries again. So I wouldn't be surprised if first thing tomorrow we kind of hit that 29.94 again and hopefully break past it on the way to about 31. Aside from all of that fun stuff on the actual chart itself, SoFi is still looking pretty good. Like I said, a little bit of consolidation today, but you still do see a lot more willing buyers. There really wasn't that much in articles, but most likely there's going to be a lot tomorrow, which you'll be summarizing that fireside chat. But aside from that, like the only negative is just stochastic RSI. It's relatively overbought. So that's kind of the only negative in my opinion. But aside from that though, looking at the flow, you did see algorithmic trading starting to affect SoFi a little bit more than what normally does happen, but nothing to panic over in my opinion. So this is a quick summary of what happened with SoFi, what I feel really moved it, and everything else. So give yourself a shout out if you did buy, if you sold, what did you do with SoFi? And then one final thing, pop over to my Patreon. If you're looking for some solid buy signals on stocks, options, crypto, put out daily day trades, numerous swing trades, worthwhile to pop over there and check that out. With all that said, appreciate all of you watching.